Education is the foundation for preparing students to assume their roles as productive citizens. More and more, the educational pathways taken by today's students go beyond the traditional college path and include higher education-enabled technical and vocational pathways. Legislators, student support organizations, and educators continuously evaluate existing programs in order to make improvements that maximize the opportunity for students to achieve their potential. But are current educational pathways and programs effective? It can take years to know if changes made by school systems today translate into long-term success for students. Timeliness requires following the same students throughout their post-secondary careers to find out what is working and capture it in real time.
The information that the Clearinghouse provides is incredibly valuable to school districts because school districts have no other basis, for example, knowing the percentage of their graduates that go on to college other than by surveys that are done and returned by a very small sample of the population. So they are basically guesstimating what they think the percentage of their graduates are that are going to college. On the other hand, the Clearinghouse has the exact information that allows them to tell a school system, a high school within a school system, the percentage of their students that are actually going to college, that are staying in college, and even more important, the percentage of those students that are graduating from college.
Gathering such critical progress and outcomes data is a considerable challenge. Institutions at every level of education must work together to develop a well-defined understanding of available pathways as students map their own journeys through the education system. Even after the data is collected and validated, it must be shared in a way that's meaningful to educators, program administrators, and policymakers. Many high schools and most post-secondary institutions rely on data provided by the National Student Clearinghouse to provide timely answers to crucial curriculum and program effectiveness questions.
The Clearinghouse was established over 20 years ago to alleviate work burdens coming out of the higher education administrative offices, in particular the Registrar's Office. In over 20 years, the Clearinghouse has been able to take on work burdens as an agent of the institution. In exchange for the data that we receive, we perform all of these services for higher education at virtually no cost.
This nonprofit organization has worked with nearly every U.S. post-secondary school for over 21 years, providing trusted services that, as a byproduct, enable it to follow students throughout the continuum of their educational careers.
Data from National Student Clearinghouse has allowed high schools to set ambitious benchmarks over time so that they can hold themselves accountable for some big picture goals as it relates to educational attainment. The other way I've seen high schools use data is to select priority areas, to really drill down in the data to figure out where their highest need priorities are.
The services the Clearinghouse provides to higher education saves the education community more than $500 million annually. Without the Clearinghouse, these costs would be passed on to college students, their families, and taxpayers.
Well, I think at this point in time in our history in higher education, we're really looking at ways that we can track students and track their progress. So the Clearinghouse is able to do that for us in a much more comprehensive way than any single institution can do. So it's about providing 24/7 service and access to students. It's about looking at institutional resources and how we, quite frankly, can better utilize our resources if we take advantage of the services that the Clearinghouse has to offer.
The success of the National Student Clearinghouse depends on the participation of educational institutions. By reporting on student progress, these institutions play a vital role in improving educational outcomes for all students. But collecting and maintaining this data is a massive responsibility. Along with security, protecting students' privacy is the National Student Clearinghouse's top priority.
The data that's sent to the National Student Clearinghouse is owned by the institutions that send it. However, the students are also data owners of their education information. So they have the right to see the information that the Clearinghouse has on them and can dispute it and can also see how it was used.
There are a lot of parent concerns these days, and while the Clearinghouse has been around a long time and has built a great reputation, parents are new to this field. So it's helpful for the Clearinghouse and other organizations to be certified by independent organizations so that parents know they've gotten a seal of approval and that they're doing the right thing to protect student data and make sure it's used in appropriate ways.
The delivery of education is constantly evolving as educators better understand which programs result in long-term success. The Clearinghouse provides educators with the information they need to accurately determine cause and effect in today's continuous learning environment so they can improve student outcomes.
I don't know that there is any other entity in the United States that could provide us with this information. The Clearinghouse has a long history of being a reliable institution. It validates its data, and it allows us to do the work that we do at our own individual colleges and universities. There is no place that I know of that has the kind of depth and record that the Clearinghouse has.
Well, without the Clearinghouse data, it's really like the blind leading the blind. You really don't know what you have. You really don't know what you have achieved. And so you're basically estimating, guessing how your students have done, how your students are doing as they go on to college. Clearinghouse data gives you that exact information. It's incredibly helpful in terms of the school districts shaping, projecting, developing the kinds of programs that will lead to success.
To learn more about how the National Student Clearinghouse is informing education, visit studentclearinghouse.org.